Welcome to Facing the Nation for the 26th of April, 2024. Today, I want to, as I always start the program, call up your neighbor, call up a friend, let them know Facing the Nation is on today. And we have so much to discuss. So ensure you let them know we're on all our social media platforms, the APN USD page on Facebook, the People's National Congress Reform page on Facebook, the People's National Congress Reform YouTube channel, of course, on our local television, Channel 6. So call up somebody, tell them Facing the Nation is on today. We have very interesting things to talk about. As you know, so much is happening as we talk every single day. I want to go right ahead to introduce my guest for today. He is definitely no stranger to any of the platforms. He has been out there, talking for the rights of persons and that kind of stuff. So I want to welcome to the program today. And of course, he's no stranger to Facing the Nation, but we haven't had him in a while. He's no other than the Vice Chairman of the People's National Congress Reform and Shadow Minister of Agriculture. Welcome, Mr. Vinceroy Jordan.
Thank you very much, Shinki, for having me, and good afternoon to your viewing and listening audience. And it's a pleasure being back on Facing the Nation once again with you. And I trust that my return would be one that will be more very soon and more often.
Yes, correct. We definitely have to work on that because there's so many things, we usually have to talk about. Saying that, I want us to get right into the discussion because the time is always limited and there is so much happening in the public domain. Currently, Guyana is facing some trying times, as I call it, under the PPPC government as it stands right now. I want to jump off something that is a little away from your sector, but you're a politician. We've been talking about a lot of things that is affecting everybody. I want to start out by having this conversation off of something I posted on my page this morning, where I saw the response to Jagdeo in regards to the ruling by Judge Kithun in regards to the teachers' pay not being deducted. And what he said, and he is basically saying that the judge is presumptuous and using, this tone as if he's Lord and God of everything. And, whatever he says. And I want you to kind of juxtapose that to even what we're seeing in the agriculture sector. We're seeing protests arising and you're hearing people are not being paid for things. Let's talk about that.
Well, Shinika, I was reading a little on it myself earlier before I came onto the program. And what I want to just back up a bit is to refresh our viewers their memories. Just about a year and a half ago, I think it was, or thereabout, when Dharmlal made similar sentiments where he sort of attacked our Chief Justice, the then Chief Justice, and court judges who made a ruling with regards to in the courts, and he basically told the judges what they should have said. And it is
Mm-hmm.
here you coming again and saying to Justice Sandal Kisoon that your ruling was out of order. That is how I take it.
Mm-hmm.
And he operates as though he has total control and domination over the judicial system, over
Mm-hmm.
the judicial officers. It comes back to the point that many would have made in the past, an
Mm-hmm.
allegation raised that the PPP somehow believes that they control our magistrates,
Mm-hmm.
our judges, the prosecutors in the court, and they take it as offense when they
Mm-hmm.
ever rule against them.
Yeah.
So it appears as though when our judges and our magistrates rule against the PPP, if you remember in the magistrate court just a few weeks ago when the magistrate took the matter with regards to Carol Smith Joseph, Walter Lawrence, the GCOM officials, and she then put it to the High Court for proper
Yeah.
understanding and clarification. That Jagdio told the magistrate in my own words that, well, you're out of order, my understanding. You should continue. You're delaying the process. You are causing the system or the cases to be stalled. But here we see that these members of the PPPC leading in front, Jagdio, and the others following, believe
Mm-hmm.
that they have control over the judges. And once they don't rule in their favor, a whip or a stick is awaiting them and they will be flogged. But
Yeah.
Justice Daniel Kisoon has proven and shown to the entire, as a matter of fact, to the world, that he will rule according
To
to the
law.
best of his ability, to the law, and the fairest in what he can be in terms of the judgment. And that is what he has done. And so
Mm-hmm.
I believe many, like yourself and others, the Bar Association, even to the Attorney General, they should
Mm-hmm.
call out the Vice President for
Correct.
taking the that he took. They should say to him, as a matter of fact, I would say that the judge deserves an apology immediately
Mhm.
because the
Correct.
Vice President is out of order. And it is
Mm-hmm.
that they practice across the sectors. And you would be amazed to understand some of the things that they do to our public officers and at the Ministry of Agriculture. It is the same. Many
Mm-hmm.
of our senior officers who controls our the agencies, GLDA, MMA, GRDB, all these different agencies, New Market Corporation, they believe that these people are their children. And
Mm-hmm.
so public servants, they wait at the end of the day to see whether they will be upbraided, whether they will have some flogging in social media when they make certain decisions. As a matter of fact, they're afraid to make certain decisions because they wonder whether it will line up sometimes. And I have been told whether they seek guidance because if the decision is not lined up with what the minister and the PPP government requires, they can
Mm-hmm.
come in strict licking, as we would put it. And that is happening across the country. I remember the leader making mention of it a few weeks or a few days ago, that even to the REOs that they would have appointed, the president
Correct.
appointed, even to
There have
those who are
been.
running the region, they cannot function as they wish. REOs are told to send text messages to the minister of local government allegedly
Mm-hmm.
before they make a decision, to scan
Vision.
and flash documents before they make a decision, scan and send documents before they sign up. What nonsense is this? And now
You
we
know,
see it playing out by the vice president.
it also brings into play what we saw in terms of questioning and even the answers given at the UN Human Rights Committee. And, the
Right.
fact that the government has refused to appoint a chief justice and a chancellor, despite having an agreement from the opposition leader, which is required by the Constitution in itself, tells you. And then when he makes such statements and you have people in the government making such statements, we see why we're in the state that we're in, you know?
And very important because, as you know, I took that matter to the court, and
Yes.
it was pronounced upon, I think it was Justice Damon Young, who pronounced on that matter and gave certain strict timelines and guidelines, so as to speak, as to what should happen with regard to the appointment of our Chancellor and our Chief Justice, bearing in mind that the path has been made clear because the leader of the opposition has already said very clear in writing and orally that he has no problem with the appointment of our Chancellor, current acting Chancellor, Madam Justice Yonette Cummins, and the Chief Justice, Madam Justice Roxanne George. And because he has made that clear, I don't believe there is even a necessity for talks again. The president can now move forward to appointing the Chancellor, appointing the Chief Justice. But you know what? They don't want to do that because we see what is happening presently in the system. And they know who they want to put. And so they don't want the current acting members. And so they're playing with time and they're playing with people's emotion and people's ability on the job. And when they believe it is right, they're going to come back and say all manner of things. And then, the people never get appointed. But that has already been moved in the court, and it is up to President Irfan Ali to do the honorable thing and ensure that they are appointed.
Correct. Moving into the agriculture issues. Yesterday we saw workers striking in the sugar industry. There are talks as well. We're hearing even other parts in terms of the administration. It is rumored, I should say, that they as well are not being paid. And we know this issue over the strike is about something a little bit more technical or something that was considered normal in the sector and now has not been afforded because, again, we're hearing the government in this sector, they're saying they don't have money. And, we're seeing all these monies budgets for sending left, right, and center. Let's talk about that.
All right. Well, Sheikah, I wish we could have played the video, the clip a little, but we're going to get that in a little.
We can play the clip.
Okay, let us get because many of our viewers probably might not have heard or learned of it.
Yeah. So we'll play that clip for the viewers. And then
all estate factory workers downed the tools and walked out of the factory. Their action was in protest over the non-payment of an end-of-crop bonus. The money is normally paid to factory workers 2 weeks after the crop ends. The first crop ended 3 weeks ago, and the management of the estate on Thursday morning met with the workers' union representatives. During that meeting, it was reportedly disclosed that Gaisuko has no money to pay the workers the promised bonus. The two sides had previously met last week, and Gaisuko promised that a 1-week bonus would be paid to the workers this Friday.
When I went to the meeting this morning, they tell me no money now. So, as a representative, we got to carry the message back to the worker. So we go to the worker, inform the worker, and the worker decide. Put down the tools and text them. And wait until somebody get an answer when the money is paid.
Thursday's meeting was attended by workers' representatives of all 4 departments in the factory.
Normally, when we are out of crop, workers expect 2 weeks after crop would have ended, workers would get holiday with pay. So we were promised last week that due to some inconvenience, we cannot have it, workers cannot have it last week. So they pleaded with us to bear with them, we're gonna get it this week.
They can't cut us them. Bring out a put in all that to tell a play on. Look at the skin length. The skin is a double length, watch. Yeah, look at thing link. Look at thing link. That is what. I have seen got them in blame on. Look that. What is it? Look at this key in it. This is not key and scones. This is grass, mother scones. This is grass.
Yeah. So, Shinika, what we see or saw rather in the first video there is the demonstration of all the factory workers and other departments or gangs, as I would know it, and others who are familiar with Gaisuko would understand. There are different gangs that work in different sections of the estate. The dung tools yesterday at about 10 o'clock, I was called and I was told that of the intended actions. As a matter of fact, I advised some of the workers that they should ensure that the union play the role that it ought to play so that they will be in the safe part, because we know this government operates and we know how vindictive they can be from time to time. Coming back to the matter at hand, what is normal and traditional within Gaisuko for a number of years, people would know. I've had experience being in Gaisuko from since 2006, and it has been happening for decades before that. At the end of every crop, you would have a week or two, and then you go into a week of holiday. You know how you would go on annual leave as in the public sector. You go holiday with pay. As a matter of fact, this is April month in the public service. They would normally get what we call double salary. So they get a leave plus and everything this month. So the workers at Rosal Estate, last week they were supposed to receive their holiday with pay, and so as of the new week coming, they would then be home with their normal payment that they receive and another week. So they have like a little bonus to go home and enjoy a week with their families, rest after hard work in the crop, relax, recuperate, and come again to start preparing the factories, the fields, and workshop and all those, the machines, the tractors, and all those things for the new crop. However, this did not happen. The workers, as you see, they're very much frustrated. The guys who promised them, as a matter of fact, it is a normal time that they would get the payment and they would have this 1 week with pay, go off, rest and come back. But this year, Gaisuko is saying, or this crop, Gaisuko is saying, and mind you, this is the second crop since the reopening of this Rosal Estate that the Minister of Agriculture spoke about gloriously in the National Assembly, that we will reopen the estates at the APNU close and we will put them back into grinding and you will see production. And oh my, he went on. As a matter of fact, I wish we can cut some of those videos and let the public hear. But the very estate has not yet met one target that they have set to the estate. And I'll tell you a little bit about the targets and so on in a moment or two. But what is alarming is that Gaisuko doesn't have any money to pay to our hard-working sugar workers. What is alarming is that at this point, yesterday being Thursday, they can say to the workers that they don't have money to pay them today being Friday, and they have to wait. I was reliably informed by one of the union workers that Gaisuko gave them no certainty as to when the money, they gave them no timeline. And so the corporation must be held accountable. And here we see again playing out the incompetence of not only the management of Gaisuko, but the supervision of the board of directors and the government with regards to Gaisuko, because you are running an entity and the entity is failing continuously to the point it is hemorrhaging day after day, year after year, to the point now you cannot pay our workers who have worked for an entire crop, and they are now going on their week of rest. They cannot have their holiday pay, and hence they will be going home to their families. Some would normally go on a little vacation, some would normally go on a little shopping. That cannot happen. And we already know Guyana, in the state it is, things are difficult to achieve. We cannot go into the supermarkets and pick up things as we used to before. We have to spend almost 3 times the amount of money we used to spend in 2019 or early 2020. Today we have to spend almost 3 times that. So if a family of 3 used to spend 25,000, they have to, or people plan the belly and prepare to go with at least $70,000 to $75,000 to get the same things they used to get then. And so I cannot understand now that Gaisuku is coming to say to our workers that they don't have money to pay. You know what I need to mention also, Shanika, is that about, I think it was October, November, the latter part of last year, we as the coalition put out a statement when the pensioners of Iflat Estate were not receiving the pensions on time, when the pensioners of Blairmont were not receiving their pensions, when workers across the sector were told, and I have the copies of the emails that were sent to all the human resource and finance managers, that they cannot pay that week. And when we made the public pronouncement and we put the statement out, the minister came to the defense of Gaisuko, and he said that Gaisuko has the money to pay, and the rumor that is being spread that Gaisuko has some shortage of money is far from the truth. And in a day or two, we saw them running helter-skelter, and they eventually made some late payment. But my take on it is, as shadow and seeing what they're doing with the entity and monies that have been budgeted, some over $33 billion thus far in just about 4 years, it is going to waste. And to know that we would have plugged $33 billion and more into a sector, and 4 years later you coming to say to our sugar workers, our fathers and mothers, that you have no money to pay them, it's high time to ask the CEO, don't wait on him to be removed and replaced. The CEO and the board must pack their bags and go. And like I said to the Minister of Agriculture in my budget presentation, that he too, failing to be able to properly manage this entity, and by extension many other entities within his watch, under the Ministry of Agriculture, he too should pack up and go, because Zulkifli Mustafa has demonstrated his grave incompetence along with those we have as his political support. We also recognize and see out of this, Shanika, that Gaisuko indeed has been failing, because we cannot account for $1 of profit. We cannot account for one successful crop in Gaisuko since this government took office. As a matter of fact, we are at a point where the first crop of 2024 has come to an end at Rosal Estate, and that estate has not achieved its first target. And so I am saying to Guyanese and to people who have the minimal level of understanding that the PPP is bad for Guyana, the PPP is bad for Gaisuko, and that the Minister of Agriculture must go. And once he goes, the government should go, Shanika. Because it is, as a matter of fact, I am saying that all the estates should join in solidarity with those, because very soon Blairmont come to an end. Iflat would have come to an end, and they too will face that at some point in time. So they should be solidarity. with the others.
You know, before we come up, because there's so many other industries on the agriculture that are in a dire state currently and punishing. You know, one of the things that they bash the coalition and talk about, us not respecting sugar workers, and we closed down all these estates. But one of the things I remember as well, you pointing out in your budget presentation for this year budget, is that the record shows that under the coalition, we would have produced more, even in this sector, than anything they have made within 2 and 3 years, despite these claims that are being made.
And Chiniki, you're correct, because I can say offhand that the coalition government left Gaisuko producing almost 200,000 tons of sugar at an average over the years, and coming down to the end, we went somewhere there about 100 and something tons. But the interesting part here, because we all know that we would have the two estates would have been closed and what's not, and how they chastised the government for what they did in terms of right sizing and ensuring that the entity is in a viable, sustainable position. We know that when the PVP took office, Gaisuko was producing with just those 3 estates just over 100 tons, 1,000 tons of sugar. But today, Gaisuko is struggling. It is hard. It is difficult for Gaisuko to produce 50,000 tons of sugar. They have revised a target of about 75 or 78,000 tons to 66,000. They revised it to 53,000. They could not have made that and all. It is a total embarrassment on the part of the people in government and the incompetence of Gaisuko, because even Ray Charles can see that what is happening in the entity today is as a result of the incompetence and the mismanagement of Gaisuko. Because we have ensured during our tenure that we place monies into Gaisuko, but at the right place, doing the right things. But in the long run, what we ensured also, Shinika, is that the management of Gaisuko was one that was competent enough, that the staff being retrained, retooled, and equipped with the necessary functionalities and equipment that they needed so as to ensure maximum production out of Gaisuko. Today we are far from that. Superintendents are calling me to say that they're working from 6 in the morning to 8 in the night, and they're not being paid any overtime. They have just a little what you call it. They normally put that allowance, their salary, but it cannot compensate. They have reported to GAWU, and those field superintendents across all the estates are now frustrated, because you know what? Management calls them in every day to work overtime. And as I would know it, is that the allowance that is being given to them is for them to be called out in cases of emergency, not for structured overtime week after week. And some of them are working way over the 40 hours, 60, 70 hours a week.
And this is all leading up to, Wednesday coming, it's Labor Day. And we know when we have that parade, it is a thing under this government to, have workers divided. Once they're in power, there is always some sort of confusion in that regard. And I'm waiting to see patiently what will happen in regard to GAWU and the government, and what the talk is going to be like at Labor Day with all of these issues coming. And it is under every union. We're seeing issues with the government, how they're treating workers, the payment of workers. It is across the board now.
Yes, and it has always been with regards to Gaisuko. But the government, when in opposition, they painted this glorious picture as if the coalition had no care and concern for sugar workers. But today, as I speak with many sugar workers, They are saying that they were far more better off under the coalition in terms of payment, in terms of how they work packages. Many of the field workers, when they go on the field full with vine, and I got to speak so that they would understand. When them boys go for cut the cane and the field full with a set of bush and overgrown, they were paid under the coalition to first get rid of the weeds and all of that, and then go into the actual cutting of the canes. And you will see in a video just now the type of cane or what is being reaped at some of our estates. The union has been compromised. You know, I want to make it very clear here because they normally say it. Coretta McDonald, who is part of the Guyana Teachers Union, comes in lots of time for a licking from the vice president and the likes of those in the PPP saying that she's political. But Guyanese must remember and understand that Gaisuko, over the decades that I know myself, being sensible enough to understand what is happening, has always had the president or the head of the Guyana Agriculture Workers Union being a member of parliament, sitting on the PPP benches, whether in government or opposition. Komal Chan was always there. We see, oh my, it's slipping me. Sipal Narayan is there presently. And what happens year after year is that they make no substantive representation for the workers.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, it is a PPP decision that is always a right act so that workers can receive anything. They decide what they give them. They decide how they must work. They decide what comes out of every challenge that the union puts forward. So why you talk about Coretta McDonald when you have to right that the PPP controls and sends to the workers to do as he pleases? And that is part of the reason why Gaisuko is in such a state as it is today. I just want to touch on this quickly before you come back.
Go ahead.
What we see happening at Albion Estate in terms of production. Albion produces over 1,740 metric tons of sugar this crop. In the history of Gaisuko, in the history of Albion producing sugar, they have never produced such a low amount of sugar in an entire crop. This production we're hearing here is what Albion before time would have produced in a week. One grinding week. I am saying that even if you check at Blairmont, when I was working at Blairmont during the early 2000s, Blairmont's weekly target was 60. I cannot forget that. I worked there for years, 1,260, and Albion was always more than Blairmont because of the larger capacity, the grinding hours, and it has, you know, that larger capacity. Albion had a target of 7,397 metric tons for this crop, Shinika. And to my God, they can only produce 1,700 metric tons. It is not only embarrassing, it is disgraceful for the Minister of Agriculture to speak about Gaisuko in any way. And when they will turn to Guyanese and tell them that they're going to make 100,000 metric tons of sugar this year, come on, man. It is far from reality. And I want to challenge the Minister of Agriculture and Gaisuko because they always come after I finish a statement or I finish a presentation to say that it is not true. I want to challenge them to total production of sugar for Gaisuko for the first crop of 2024 and say to Guyanese what they would have achieved in the first crop. Bearing in mind last year, their first crop, they made somewhere about, I think it was about 18,000 metric tons of sugar. Let them say to us if they have even reached that amount thus far. No, they don't go to the amount yet. You understand? And it is a similar thing. I feel like some amount of sugar, when you go to Ifrit producing just over 2,000 tons of sugar, Ifrit has never made more sugar than Albion. Albion is the largest grinding factory in Gaisuko. You understand? At Rosal, when they reopened last year, that factory produced 1,30 metric tons of sugar last crop in last year. And we have plugged over $5 billion into the reopening of this estate in different ways, in different forms, and we have not $1 in profit from that estate. We have not even seen the factory producing at the rate it used to produce prior to its closure, and they have pumped so much into the reopening of that estate. There's so much.
There is so much indeed happening at Gaisuko, and as I said earlier, so much happening in the agriculture sector generally. The leader visited Blackbush Polder area about a week or two ago, and the issue of what is happening with rice and the paddy bug, and that even spilling over to areas where the cash crop farms are close to the rice farms, and how they're spraying, and even where there were lots of losses because of the paddy bug, and the government saying they're pumping, I suppose at this point, billions of dollars into compensation for those rice farmers, and they're saying things like, people are being placed on a list. When the extension workers go do their own visits, do whatever is necessary and produce a list, people's name are being taken off because they're perceived to be a support of the coalition, or they said something bad about some PPP person. And that's the kind of handling as well we're seeing. But I know that there is a real issue with the rice crops as well.
Right. So it is no secret, Shanika, and I think about 3 weeks ago, I prepared a statement. Well, the coalition, we released a statement.
Yes.
With regards, and let me pull that up so that I can read the exact heading of that statement. And it says, the absence of a proactive pest control system to address the paddy bug infestation in the rice industry is a manifestation of PPP's incompetence and mismanagement. And the entire statement is true again. We have seen and heard, I want to pull that up too, in the 2024 presentation in the National Assembly, Shanika, none other than the Honorable Minister of Finance, the minister within the Ministry of Presidency with responsibility of finance. We heard him. Oh yes, and how he normally goes up on the floor in his glorious performance. He said, and I will quote at page 36, paragraph 4.55, so that Guyanese can be reminded and understand. And hear what he said. He said in 2023, government, and this is the PPP government, launched a new high-yielding bio-fortified zinc-enriched variety, established a seed processing facility at Blackbush Polder, and a biocontrol laboratory for addressing the paddy bug infestation naturally, and introduce nano fertilizer as an alternative to conventional fertilizers. Now, let me just let our Guyanese, especially rice farmers, understand. This is a statement in the 2024 budget that speaks to what they did or should have done in 2023. He said that they launched a high yielding Bio 45, a new variety of rice that will naturally fight off the bug infestation. And here we are just over a year later.
Fighting.
About paddy bug has infested our rice in a sector, causing some farmers in region 2. One farmer said to me that he lost almost 85% of his paddy when he went to the mills. You know, you cut the paddy, the rice, you take it to the mills, and then the mill will do what they term a grading system. And so they will grade the paddy according to, you know, they give that grading. And what is best, that is the A grade, they will give a price. And the rest will go or waste because of the bug infestation. The paddy bug, candy, whatever you want to call it, it sucks everything out of that, and so it gets shells. It is, you know, it doesn't have any rice. It's not within the shell there, so it goes to waste. And we are seeing in just about a year the very thing that this government launched to tackle paddy bug infestation naturally and to introduce nano fertilizers and all of that. You know, it will work. They said it should work. The farmers reach out. You know what the farmers at Blackbush, Boulder, and some right here in Region 5 said to me? They said that they're holding GRDB research, rather, the boys from the Rice Research Center accountable for the losses that they endured because it is the expense, because it is them who advise them, the farmers, about some of the chemicals that they should use. And surprised, I went to visit one farmer, met me at Bushlot the other day, and then another at planting at the back of Fort Wellington. The guy said to me, all the rice that were infected by the paddy bugs, and he sprayed them, all blast, all gone to waste. None of the rice.
Wow.
So this government is failing in every, as a matter of fact, let me stick to agriculture. The agriculture sector is in a mess as we speak. Because if it's not sugar, it is rice. If it is not rice, it is drainage and irrigation. If it is not drainage and irrigation, it is meat production, it is poultry rearing, it is dairy, milk production. It is now even in region number 7. Permit me, because I know our time. In region number 7 in Bartica, sorry, where farmers pick the pigs, they cannot afford to sell because you got somebody close to the PPP bringing in meat from Brazil. He importing or doing whatever is legally or not, and the price that he is selling it for is far below that of what the persons who are buying the feed, taking time, paying workers in Bartica and its environs. And in Region 6, the similar thing happens.
Yeah.
And so you find that it is a total breakdown across the country. When we had the issue with eggs, I questioned the minister during the budget presentation about eggs and chicken. We know of the smuggling of chicken across region, the Suriname vessel and coming in from backtrack. We know and we understand the level of corruption there. The chicken that is being smuggled in the country allegedly is even being stored at the facilities of the government. So in the government compound, that is the level we've gone to. You understand?
You know, and to compound that, I mean, what many of the farmers are talking about, it is one thing to experience these things, you know, getting advice or being given something else to see if you'll get your crop done properly. Losing it and then not being compensated for it is another thing. And
Exactly.
there is a lot of money that this government is claiming to be spending, particularly in the agriculture sector, in forms of cash grant, because right now that's one of the biggest areas you're getting cash grants in. But the farmers and persons rearing poultry as well in Blackbush, Poland, those areas, region 5, region 6, even some in region 2 are saying the same thing. They are not being compensated for their losses, despite they're hearing the announcements about how many $1 billion are being handed out to farmers, etc. And they want to know, in some cases, who are they, and in other cases, they know exactly who are the people who are getting money, who in many cases should not be getting because they don't have anything.
And you raise a very important point, because I can date back as far as 2020, after that massive flood that we had, where the government came to the National Assembly for billions, 10 billion plus dollars, and we are still asking for the list of the farmers that would have received the flood relief cash grant to be made public. Because you know why? Today there are farmers who submitted their names to extension officers and they never receive a cent. There are farmers who lost rice, hundreds of heads of cattle. They have never received a cent. And this is not only the known people that we know who are aligned to the coalition, because they didn't get none at all for the fact that they support the coalition. But when we go into communities such as Bushlot in Region 5, the leader went to Blackbush Polder, he went to Region 2 and Region 3. It is the similar concerns that the people are sharing in predominant PPP supported areas. They are not getting it. And we have seen and heard of persons who didn't even plant one bank borrow, of persons who didn't even had one cow, 1 acre rice, that those are the persons who have received the cash grant in the millions of dollars. And it's continuing. And to know now that the farmers are being affected by the paddy bug, I want to call or repeat the call of the coalition, as we would have mentioned earlier in our press release, that the government needs to set up in the form of a moratorium on the loans at the banks for our rice farmers. The government needs to ensure that they provide seed paddy. They need to ensure that they provide pesticides, diesel, and even farm equipment to help our rice farmers to get back into the field. But above that, they must be able to provide tangible cash grant in a structured, organized, fair, and transparent manner, so that it could go to our rice farmers and their families, so that they can survive in this period until they get. But what I want the government to also do, as I represent rice farmers here, is that they must ensure that every rice farmer gets it. So in doing so, have representatives from the NDCs, have representatives from the coalition, have representatives from the RDCs to sit and be a part of this business process, so that the people who are truly affected can receive the benefits that they need. Don't come to us talking politics when we are representatives of half the population of this country, when people in Region 5 know that they can come to the Member of Parliament, Vinceroy Jordan, and he can take their names and he can make representation for them. But you as a government will not take the list from me because you perceive it to be that I will champion the cause of and keeping my supporters intact. But you want to come under a tent at some compound and call out names that 1,000 persons receive cash grant. But when really and truly it is the friends, the families, the favorites, and the cronies of the PPP that are receiving the cash grant, not the people who really and truly lost their rights. Because I can tell you for a fact, there were a number of men who planted this crop for the first time who reached out to me. And you know what they said? The Minister of Agriculture, they said to me, has never came to see what is happening to them. And when they wrote to the Member of Parliament for Region 5, Honorable Jaffer Ali, he has never visited. And is it because those are young men from communities such as on the Neiman, Fort Wellington, Hope Town, number 5, Litchfield, and they like to play this race based in the politics.
Correct.
People from Kitchener contacted me. As a matter of fact, a team from Bath Settlement is presently, I have a group where they're complaining and they're speaking about the losses, and Zulfikar Mustafa nor his agents have not visited, not one of them. So how are they going to do a proper assessment of what has really happened within the rice industry and to properly compensate our rice farmers? That is my big question to the Minister of Agriculture.
You know, we are in the 4th month. We're almost at the end of it, heading into the month of May, which would be the 5th month. And I want to read the headline of, I believe it's one of these government agencies, news agency things, or from Ministry of Agriculture, I believe. And this was said by the minister in January of this year. It reads here, Guyana is poised for tremendous growth in the agriculture sector in 2024. And it in the article of itself, it says this growth will be due to the direct result of government's prudent management. It's prudent management and investment, initiative and investment. That is why we will see, this tremendous growth in 2024. This is his statement in January, and we're here discussing, and we have not even gone into every sector in the agriculture, every area in the agriculture sector. We have really hammered in on sugar, on rice. We didn't get to talk about much of the cash crop, cattle, black belly sheep, nothing.
Well, that is amazing.
And these are the things that we're hearing coming from farmers themselves. They are crying out, and they are, at a loss for what they will do next based on their losses and no recovery of any of it. And we have this statement here. As we wrap up, what do you have to say about this statement being we're almost at the end of the 4th month in 2024?
Well, I would want to put it this way, Shiniko. Those statements are nothing new when it comes to the PPP. As a matter of fact, they are known for using those words, diversify and transformative and retool and all those fancy terms they would use. And then you go back 6 months and a year after, and you will see the very same thing that has been happening before they mention all the things about transformation. But I want to speak to the minister directly. Before the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Zulfikar Mustafa, tries to champion this whole Caribbean food security, let him champion food security in Region 6. I can't give him Guyana because I know he will not be capable of. But let him start with Region 6. And then I'm going to give him Region 5, 4, 3, we're going to go on to the other regions. But he got to start home. There's an old adage, charity begins at home. How are you going to champion food security in the Caribbean and you want to feed Barbados and Antigua and St. Vincent and Grenada? But, sometimes we have to be, how can you as a government, as a minister and the president, I don't understand. The vice president, this president who is responsible for agriculture at the level of CARICOM prior to him, or probably still is, he's now chairman. How can you have your minister talking about that when you can't even fix agricultural issues in your own country?
Right.
You
Food is
see
so
that
expensive.
you see that underperformance in your main sectors, such as rice, sugar production, fishery. Fish has gone to a state that the
Yeah.
farmers, the fishermen, they just give up.
Mhm.
I pray God that the fishermen don't go to the level that we all know how when things go bad in this. I pray to God daily. Fishermen are tired of the incompetence. When you look at the other crops and cash crops and all these other sectors within we have not yet been able to properly service our very own local markets, Shinika.
Mhm. Correct.
Food,
Food is expensive.
vegetables, fruits, and all that we need. We still going to the market and buying Boro 4 and 5 for 200. Come on, man. What
Imported fruit is cheaper.
you understand? It is total. I would want to put it is total ignorance to have a minister of agriculture speaking about champion agriculture at the regional level when he has not yet done it in his own country.
Mhm. Mhm.
I want to also touch on you saying the statement that they will invest into agriculture. Oh, no doubt. I don't doubt that they're investing into agriculture. Shinika. I don't doubt that they're investing at all in the country. But it is the type of investment that I question. It is where the investments are taking place, and it is how it is being rolled out that I question.
Yeah.
Because investments, no doubt, $1.146 trillion is going into the economy, but is it in any way reaching to any of our small man? Is it that these are really benefited when you have just about 20% of the country that includes the government, the friends, the families, the elite, and their cabal benefiting from an entire budget, and the other 80% having a little bit here and a little bit there, and in some cases none at all when you go to the lower 50%.
Correct.
What are you talking about investment? We know that we've seen. I can pull up my notes. As you see, we got to spend about 2 or 3 programs to deal with this.
Correct.
Because we know that the government said that they now plug some $72.3 billion into upgrade and maintenance of national DNI, drainage and irrigation structure. That
Yes.
sector in the Ministry of Agriculture received 72 billion. But I don't have to begin to tell Guyanese about the corruption with the hundreds of millions of dollars, as a matter of fact, billions of dollars on the pump stations across the country in region 3, in region 2, in region 5, West Canal, Canal number 1, A-line, Blackbush, Polder, Cottage, you name it, the one making the news every night to people. That is the investment the minister is talking about. If that is the investment they're talking about, I don't know when and how it will ever reach a small man. And so for the minister to come to speak about seeing transformation, I believe he needs to launch an entire inquiry into whether the transformation has really reached any of the farmers throughout Guyana, and not those their friends. Go to the ordinary, go to the people in the streets, and you will hear and you will know. And I read just 1 minute. I read just, I think it's a day or two, one of the writers, I think it's Guyana, Chronicles, the Chronicle or the Times, I can't remember, but somebody wrote, and they're saying that the leader of the opposition visit to Bush Polder was a clown show, or they put a term to it that it didn't service. They don't see it's a joke. It's a joke. But I want them to understand that it is out of the same joke that we get to see, we get to know, and we get to feel the real issues that are affecting the Guyanese people in every walk of life, in every strata. We get to see and feel as we move around this country. So we got to come back to talk about the Rupununi, agriculture, the Rupununi. I was there firsthand.
Yes, and we didn't get to speak about that.
And
I believe
this government when we spoke about it, they said to us that it's not true, but I got to wrap up. But lo and behold, a week and a half after, the president went in with hundreds of pounds of cassava to the
Correct.
Rupini. Comical is that?
Correct. And they put their foot in their mouth every single time. And people say a lot of things, but I am sure that the opposition is doing the job that they should. Because from the time you go into an area, the government runs behind to get the issue fixed. And that is what the opposition should be doing, ensuring that the people get the help necessary. And when the right time comes, the citizens of the country see who really cares about them and do the right thing and put the right government in place so that they don't have to continue to face this level of corruption, lawlessness, and wickedness that we're currently seeing from this administration. We're basically out of time already. I want to advocate now that, we do part 2 next week. Because there are a lot of things that we did not get. I have a long list here, and we've only spoke about 2 things on my list.
Right.
So I'm hoping that you can, commit to coming on next week somehow. And
I would try my best. My commitment is that I will try my best so that I can come, so that we can go into, because we need to touch areas such as NDIA in depth to get people to understand. We have MMA in Region 5. Oh my goodness. The amount of
visit and the Rupununi visit as well, and those things we really need to have a deeper conversation on it. And I want to touch on some issues as well outside of the sector, because there are a lot of other things that we need to give insight on that I'm sure that you're more than capable of giving insight to, that we must talk about. But we have to close up right now. But before we close, I just want to give you the opportunity, to say something direct to our audience before, we wrap up in regard to everything.
Well, I would want to say to our audience, and this is general, I want Guyanese to really pay attention to what is happening in Guyana, assess for themselves what the government is doing, what the coalition government has done over the past 5 years, and the concerns and the interests. Look at the concerns and interests that the opposition has put into their well-being and their welfare, and to, as of today, commit to making a conscious decision at the nearest general and regional election. And that would be my new term from now, Shinika, at the nearest general and regional elections. And don't make these programs just for entertainment. Make them programs that will point to your policies, will point to your issues, and that will lead you to the government that you will want to elect and see lead you in the future for the next 5 years. I thank you.
Correct. I want to thank you so much for joining the program today. And I definitely hope to get you back on program next week so we can continue this conversation. I want to thank my viewers, as always, for joining us today. And, I always want to remind you, it is our job as citizens of this country to hold the government accountable in every aspect, in every sector. And when the time comes, as we're seeing all of these things that are unfolding, it will be our duty to go to the next poll and ensure that the PPP does not have the opportunity to continue to spiral this country in a downward direction as they're currently doing, as we read the news every single day. So I want to charge you to continue to talk to your relatives, continue to talk to your friends, and continue to hold the government accountable. And when the time comes, we do what is right. I want to thank you once again for joining Faith in the Nation. See you next week, same time, same place, and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you.